The other thing that takes place here is that your income will start to rise. Everyone here has started the business and that you have had the horrible moment as you've explained the opportunity to someone and they sit there and they nod and then they ask you that horrible, horrible question. How much money are you making? You feel like pulling out your revolver? Boom! How dare you ask me that question? I hate that question. I'm not making any money. I'm just brand new in the business. How can you expect me to make any money? The problem, of course, is that we always face that. Everyone faces that. I faced that the very first day as I looked at that telephone. People were going to say to me, Craig, how are you doing? And that is the barrier that we all have to get over. And that barrier sometimes is a barrier that you have to climb over more slowly than you would like. The faster you get over it, the more productive you become, because that answer has a lot of power. And it allows that person who has just listened to your presentation to confirm whether what you've said is true or not without doing any due diligence. Because if you're making money, then what you're telling them must be true. And so that's why they ask that question, is that they don't want to do their due diligence on the facts of the matter. They just want to know from your ability to produce income for yourself. And that is something that you need to be understanding of, is that you work to get to that point. That income becomes your advertising because it confirms to people that the business is real and that it can have a result that is big enough to allow people to change their lives around it. And so you have to work to that point. You then share that power with those people who come into your downline, because you then join with that person, and when you do a three-way call, is that you share your success, so you act as the confirming factor to that person who's going to come in from that downline. There is a mathematical equation. If I had a board, I'd write it. There's a mathematical equation that you can put forward so that you can understand that. Is that a distributor is a multiplier of the activity of their downline. And a multiplier, of course, is where 2 times 4 is 4, 2 times 8 is 16, and so you are a multiplier. Your abilities multiplies the success of the person that comes into the business. Because when you come into the business and you're brand new, people ask you that question, you don't have a good answer. People ask you lots of questions and you can't answer them at all because you don't know what those answers are. And when you combine with that person as the upline, you make them stronger because you've created an equation. And so the difficulty is when a new person, though, is working with a new person. Because you're a multiplier, and let's say you're a 1, and that you sponsor someone on Sure Energy, and so the equation you've created is 1 times 1. 1 times 1 equals 1. All right, you must have gone to school somewhere outside of the United States, because most Americans think that's 2. 1 times 1 equals 1, and that means nothing is created. And that's what happens when new people work with new people. No one has the answers. No one has an example of success. 1 times 1 equals 1. Nothing is created. The frustration of this is just unbelievable because you want to be successful. It goes back to, when you were 18 years old. Do you remember when you were 18 years old and you went out to get your first job and they asked you and said, okay, what is your resume? And you said, I have no resume. I'm 18 years old. And you go to the human resource person and they say, I'm sorry, we can't hire you because you don't have any experience. And then you wake up in the middle of the night, you say, let me get this straight. I can't get a job. I don't have any experience. I can't get any experience unless I get a job. I'll never work. But that is how you feel when you're new in the business. You're 1, you sponsor someone who's a 1, and the equation is 1, and nothing is created. And the way you break that cycle is you work with an upline that isn't a 1. You work with someone who has the abilities, who can answer the questions, that can expose the income that has been created, because now the equation is, let's say that person is a 3. And now the equation turns to 3 times 1 times 1. And that means something has been created. And then in that creation, you're no longer a 1. You become a 2. And that means the equation has now turned to your upline is a 3, you become a 2, and the person you sponsor is a 1. But that means something more has been created. By the power of those connections and by the constant increasing of productivity, what you're shooting for, because the company pays you down 6 levels, is you're shooting for a line of leader upon leader upon leader who understands the business, that is engaged in the business, and let's say the top number that you can get is a 10. And so that you're trying to magnify yourself within the marketing plan where it looks like this: 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. And so that's what creates the high incomes. And that process takes time. It takes time for everyone to learn how the business works so the questions can be answered. It takes time for everyone to create an income for themselves, and that at some point you start to see tremendous gains in income and activity. The example that I like to use in this to illustrate this is a brain teaser. Perhaps you've heard when you were in a grammar school, elementary school situation. So the farmer wants someone to help him on the farm, and goes to the hired hand, says, "Come work with me and I'll pay you $50 a day." And the hired hand says to him,